The CRTC wants to know how radio, TV, and digital platforms in Canada can best meet the needs of Indigenous viewers, listeners, and content creators. Join the conversation today at crtc.gc.ca/indigenous-broadcasting.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Le CRTC veut savoir comment la radio, la télévision et les plateformes numériques au Canada peuvent mieux répondre aux besoins des spectateurs, auditeurs et créateurs de contenu autochtones. Joignez-vous à la conversation aujourd'hui au crtc.gc.ca/radiodiffusion-union autochtone.
Un message du gouvernement du Canada.
I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Monday, May 13th. We return once more to our ongoing coverage of the multiple murder trial of Jeremy Skibicki. Though he has admitted to the killings, Skibicki's defense argues he's not criminally responsible due to mental illness. And on Friday, the Crown called to the stand a Winnipeg forensic police officer along with a pathologist. Chiara Wheatley reports a story which includes some disturbing details.
The day started with details about how the Winnipeg police ended up searching the city's Brady landfill back in the spring of 2022 for the partial remains of Rebecca Contois. During testimony from an identification unit officer, some of her family members began crying and they had to leave the courtroom. Contois' torso was found on the south side of the Brady landfill roughly 2 weeks into the search on June 14, 2022. Constable Brian Newman testified the search at the landfill happened after Contois' other remains were found in a garbage bin in a back alley near Skibicki's apartment. The judge heard that video surveillance of Skibicki dumping garbage bags in bins, along with the GPS of the dump truck, helped investigators determine where the contents of the bins ended up. Newman said by the time they began their work at Brady, police learned an extra 40 feet of garbage had been piled on the 3-acre area they were searching. Newman said he was the search supervisor and remembers telling his team to look for something, quote, the size of a small suitcase. Another reveal by Newman, in late June 2022, police came here, a block away from Skibicki's apartment, to search the commercial garbage bin between these two businesses. Police saw additional video of Skibicki dumping more garbage bins. It was then that court heard this is where the remains of both Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron lay for nearly 2 weeks. On May 3rd, police said Skibicki disposed of Harris and came back with Myron on May 6th. It wasn't until May 16, a day before Contois' remains were found, that a dump truck from the privately owned Prairie Green landfill picked up contents from the commercial bin. However, there wasn't any GPS, so Winnipeg police couldn't determine exactly where the contents could have ended up in Prairie Green. The other witness to take the stand was pathologist Raymond Rivera. He examined Contois' remains. He confirmed that she died from being choked and smothered. Defense did not cross-examine either witness. All week, those on the stand were called by the Crown, who have been trying to prove Skibicki was intentional and racially motivated when he killed all 4 women. 3.5 hours of video of Skibicki's interrogation was shown in court. After it played, defense told the judge Skibicki had later told investigators he suffers from borderline personality disorder and PTSD. His defense are claiming he is not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder. Court will continue with more Crown witnesses, including another police officer, who will talk more about the video surveillance evidence in this case. Chiara Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
For expanded coverage of this trial, visit aptnnews.ca. And should any aspect of this report prove triggering, supports are available 24/7 at 1-844-413-6649. To Ottawa we go now, where a Senate committee examines the maritime elver fishery. Also known as baby eels, elver harvesting is a lucrative business, fetching as much as $5,000 a kilo. But, citing conservation and a rise in violence, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans officially shut the fishery down in March. Meantime, the Senate Committee on Fisheries and Oceans has just heard from commercial eel harvesters. Brian Giroux is the president of Shelburne Elver. He claimed his tax-paying fishery has lost $1 million over 2 years. He alleged that a growing number of First Nations fish without licenses and called for better enforcement and stricter regulations.
That way we have a backstop for negotiation, because there are some bands right now that are not willing to negotiate anything. They have a right to do whatever they want, and they feel they will go and do whatever they want without reporting catches, without paying attention to conservation rules, fishing right against fish ladders and dams and you name it, breaking every conservation rule in the book, and that's not right.
Now, as noted, a federal ban on catching elvers came into effect this March. The same month, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans officers detained a pair of Mi'kmaq men for the alleged harvest of baby eels. And both Kevin Hartling and Blaze Syllaboy say the arresting officers left them at a gas station in the middle of the night, confiscating their shoes and cell phones. The pair claimed they then had to walk home for hours, minus proper footwear. Senator Paul Prosper and Liberal MP Jamie Baptiste both want an independent Mi'kmaq-led investigation into the incident. And just before a recent Fisheries Committee, APTN News asked DFO Minister Diane Laboutier whether the officers involved have been suspended.
What I can tell you, and I've said this since the beginning, is that it is unacceptable to leave people in a situation like that. I've done some work on my end. I've met with Indigenous leaders. I've met with senators. We'll work together with the Indigenous community to put a committee in place to figure out the best ways for people at the Ministry of Fisheries and Oceans to work.
More news in a moment.
Hi, I'm Dennis Ward, host of Face to Face. Coming up on our next episode, I'll be sitting down with filmmaker and producer Lisa Meaches. We'll be taking a look back on her career and much more. Tune in Tuesday on APTN or listen to the Face to Face podcast. Download and subscribe on your favorite player.
And finally, Métis Nation Saskatchewan has officially broken ground on a child care center, one which will offer kids culture, language, and teachings in a safe environment. Rachel May was at the official ground blessing.
Because all the things that we're doing here benefits everyone, not only Métis, First Nations, and non-Indigenous people. Everyone benefits.
Métis Nation Saskatchewan President Glenn McCallum spoke at the official site of a new Métis childcare facility. MNS officially broke ground on a new early learning childcare Métis Centre of Excellence in Saskatoon. Vice President Michelle Leclerc says this centre is a big step to ensure Métis children are given the opportunity to learn their culture.
Opening daycare centres to revitalize language, culture, have our children in a safe space, and allowing our families to have affordable daycare.
Not only will the center provide space for 90 children, but also 29 full-time jobs, and 4 part-time jobs will be created. Kathy Pruden-Nansel represents MNS members in Saskatoon. She says the new facility will be the first urban Métis childcare center in Saskatchewan.
Our kids are going to be in a Métis cultural environment, hear their language, see their cultural symbols, be around their elders. Those are all things, unfortunately, many of our family members were deprived of.
The center is set to open in the fall of 2025. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
And that's your APTN News Brief for Monday, May 13th. I'm Rick Harp.